gives me great pleasure to introduce our next and final orator for the evening. Enterprise architect, originally from Leicester. Target audience is 30 plus. We have Drishti May. Working with Drishti for a number of years, going through Vaani with her also. We know she's very experienced. She's very confident. And animated, as you'll see on stage shortly. This speech is titled The Devoted Actor by Drishti May. Drishti May, The Devoted Actor.
Who here regularly visits the temples of Jupiter or Zeus? Who here can tell me about the tales of Zoroaster and the Ahuras? Don't worry, perhaps you might be able to tell me about the Chinese gods Pangu and Keishen. Okay, I've got one. You'll definitely be able to tell me about the stories from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And each of you will have friends and colleagues that know about the Utsav of Diwali that you celebrate every single year. We have just heard names of the deities and characters from the world's 5 greatest civilizations and cultures. Yet today, only one of them survives, the Hindu culture. Now I'm sure there's a whole heap of reasons why that is the case. But today I'd like to explore one of them with you, one that is really quite personal to me, and that is our culture's love and use of stories. Stories. We love them, we hate them, we love to hate them, we live them. Or as was my case as a little girl, we lived through them. I was that girl that sat at the back of the class, living a totally different reality from everyone else. I was in a world where there was no school, no homework, but Power Rangers or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was a dedicated daydreamer. And term after term, year after year, my mother would look at my report card. Hi Ram, I wanted a doctor or a dentist, and you gave me a daydreamer. This will not do. Better pull your grades up. And term after term, year after year, I'd have to summon my best puppy dog eyes. Yes, Ma, I promised to try. I did, of course, eventually grow out of my love and habit of daydreaming. And before you argue, it's called free thinking now. But soon I found myself completely seduced and captured by the stories in my library. Every break, every lunchtime, even at the dinner table or under the covers at night with a torch, I'd be up reading fantasy fiction, needing to know what happened to the characters that I'd fallen in love with. Would they survive? Would he betray them? Would the bad guy win in the end? I just had to know. Of course, my mother had something to say about this too, as night after night she'd pull me by my ear, reminding me what kind of books she thought I had to pay attention to. Today, I work in technology, where I take complex architecture diagrams and I turn them into simple and elegant stories that business leaders can understand and sponsor. This is a rapid tour through my love affair with stories. Naturally, through these last 2 decades of falling in love with stories, I've asked the question, what makes a good story? Now, I could tell you what Wikipedia and Google told me, that you need conflict and tension, a bit of romance, an ultimate resolution, a hero and a villain, and some poor guy that needs saving somewhere. But I'm sure that you will remain as unconvinced as I was. There's something more in these stories that draws us in and keeps us there. I believe it's the characters that we connect with, the characters that we see ourselves in, the characters we see ourselves in but don't want to admit. Characters like Shakuni and his cunningness. Characters like Sitama with her determination and grit when the whole world seemed against her. characters like Bhishma, who turned a blind eye, or characters like Hanuman, who literally lifted mountains in his devotion. These characters have something that keep us coming back, turning page after page, wanting to watch episode after episode. And I believe that each of them have three things in common. The first thing that each of these characters have in common is that they have a cause. Take Duryodhana. In his worldview, the course of justice had been perverted. And he would give everything that he had, his time, his resources, his full life force to correct that wrong. He would reinstate the right family to the throne, his family. Conversely, take Jhansi Ki Rani. Her cause was the freedom of her people, her kingdom, her land. And she rode into the battlefield with her infant child on her back. In different ways, both Duryodhana and Jhansi Ki Rani each had a cause. The second trait that each of them have in common is that they have clarity. Take Maitri. When Yajnavalkya was dividing his wealth between his two wives, without even a single moment of hesitation or temptation, Maitri said, "No, I don't want any material wealth. I want to know the nature of truth and reality." And she convinced Yajnavalkya to take her as his shishya into the next phase of their life. Take Nachiket, the young protagonist of the Katha Upanishad. He too had clarity. He went and sat at the door of the abode of Yamraj and didn't move for 3 days or 3 nights until the great Deva appeared himself. And when Yamraj tried to fob him off, he said, "I'd grant any boon that you may so desire." Nachiket said, "No. I want to know the nature of death. I want to know the nature of life. I want to know what grants one immortality." Both Maitri and Nachiket had clarity. The third trait that all of our characters have in common is that they have courage. From Draupadi's challenge of dharma in a courtroom filled with men where she found herself the only woman, to Ram knowing and exercising his duty as king, no matter what the personal cost that he had to bear or the pain he had to endure. Cause, clarity, courage. I call these 3 C's the attributes and traits of a devoted actor. And I believe it is these 3 C's that have us coming back, reading page after page, book after book, episode after episode on Netflix, series after series. But is that it? Are these characters that we fall in love with, that we adore, simply here for our entertainment, some titillation, some nice moral stories that we can tell our children every year? Or is there something more? What is our world story? And what is our role? Are we simply the stars of our own movies in our personal universes? Or do we have a wider role to play in this Leela that we call life? Today we live in a world where every single year 8 million metric tons of plastic are dumped in our oceans. That is the equivalent of 1 truck every single minute. In our world today, every single year, 9 million people will die of hunger and malnutrition. Over half of them will be children. In our world today, here in the UK alone, 2 million people will find themselves victims of domestic violence. This is but a snapshot of our world, a scene, if you will, in our world play. What is our role? Can we identify our role in this world and for humanity? Can we be led not by social customs and conventions, but instead by the inherent wisdom locked within our heritage and our dharma? Can we rise to challenge the status quo? Imagine how differently the Mahabharata might have ended had Gandhari but removed the blindfold in front of her eyes. What will it take for us to remove ours? Can we commit to learning yoga as a philosophy and take the conversation from mental health to cultivating mental strength? Can we nurture a generation that has a strong civic sense, where we have the concern of we before the concern of I? Can we build a society where we manthan like Arjun did in the Gita, but go on to stand strong with conviction as he did in the rest of the Mahabharata? Can we call out cultural appropriation and misrepresentation of our heritage when we see it? Can we call out adharma, even if we find ourselves standing completely alone, like Draupadi did? Can each of us become devoted actors for dharma? It's a good question. And I'm afraid today I don't have the answer for you, because it's up to you to decide. Will you be the heroes of our story? Will you be the villains of our story? Or will you simply be bystanders that watch the story unfold before your very eyes? The stage is now yours.